Hello everyone and welcome to our video presentation. I'm Budimer and Tyler, Albert and I will be going over our chromatography experiment. Our experiment was based on the paper Determination of Caffeine in Beverages by High Performance Liquid Chromatography, as performed by James E. D'Annunzio. It involved finding the concentrations of caffeine in various beverages via reverse phase chromatography. Standard solutions with linearly increasing amounts of caffeine, along with a blank solution, were first prepared and sent through a chromatograph in order to determine when the caffeine would be detected, which was about 7 minutes. The caffeine was carried by a polar mobile phase of 30 to 70% methanol to water by volume. Then various solutions prepared from caffeinated beverages like coffee and soda were sent through the chromatograph. 3 samples were tested per solution. The caffeine was detected as an absorbance peak by the chromatograph at 254 nanometers by ultraviolet radiation at the same time as the caffeine in the standard solutions, which you can see with the arrows on the right. The absorbances of each standard solution were plotted versus the concentration of caffeine, and the standard curve was given. Then the caffeine absorbances of each beverage were compared against this curve in order to give the actual caffeine concentrations in each beverage to see how they held up to the reported values. Our goal was to replicate this experiment, instead analyzing 1 sample each of Bang Energy Drink, Mountain Dew, 5-Hour Energy, and 2 concentrations of Diet Pepsi, and then comparing our concentrations of caffeine to the label claims. This was all done using the Agilent 1260 Infinity chromatograph, which is shown on the right. One important part of this chromatograph is the sample injection system, which introduces the sample into the machine for analysis. It typically contains a valve with a set of 6 ports that are each connected to a different part of the chromatograph that the various chemicals introduced run through. There are also 2 positions that an injection valve can be adjusted to depending upon whether a sample has just been introduced. For the Agilent 1260 Infinity injection system, there are 5 components that make it up: the automatic injection valve, the gripper arm and needle, the sample loop, the metering device, and the tubing that runs through the injection system. The 1260's automatic injection valve has only 5 usable ports instead of the standard 6, but keeps the standard 2 positions of any rotating injection valve. They are referred to as the bypass position and the main pass position. Mobile phase is pumped into port 1 and leaves port 6 to go to the column. Port 2 allows for access to an injected sample, which is then brought back into port 5 before leaving the valve. The valve is switched to the main pass position while the machine is running idle and before any sample is added. The mobile phase is brought into port 1 on the valve via a set of pumps where it exits from port 2 into the metering device, then the sample loop, then through the needle in the gripping arm, and back into the valve through port 5, where it exits through port 6 directly towards the column in the chromatograph, ensuring that any residual samples do not remain in the machine. When we want to test a sample, the valve switches to the bypass position, the flow of the mobile phase is redirected, exiting from port 6 directly from port 1. A piston in the metering arm moves forward, further blocking off any mobile phase from reaching the rest of the injection system. Ensuring that nothing flows out of the needle, the machine is now ready to inject the sample. The gripper arm then automatically moves to grab a vial placed on a tray in the machine. The needle on the arm enters the vial, and a piston in the metering device moves back, applying enough negative pressure to move the sample into the needle where it is stored into the sample loop. The sample vial is brought back to the tray in the machine, and the gripper arm moves back into its original position, the needle connected back to the injection system. In the case that any extra sample is brought up, it will exit out of the needle into port 5 on the valve and out of port 4 directly into a waste container. Finally, the valve once again switches to the main pass position, redirecting the flow of mobile phase back into the entire injection system, carrying the sample to the column along with it. I will now hand it over to Tyler so that he can talk about the computer program we used. And you can just cut it over here. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Albert, and I'll be talking about sample preparation, caffeine standards preparation, and the preparation of mobile phase to determine the caffeine content in 5 selected beverages on the Agilent 1260 Infinity HPLC machine. The mobile phase is basically the liquid that is supposed to carry the sample through the column to be separated. To do that, we need 30% methanol, which is our mobile phase. So we diluted 300 milliliters of pure methanol in 700 milliliters of deionized water to make the 30% methanol. For the preparation of our standards, we dissolved about 0.25 grams of pure caffeine in distilled water to make 1 ppm, 10 ppm, 30 ppm, and 40 ppm of caffeine standards. For our samples, we needed 10 ppm of Mountain Dew, and to do that, we diluted 10 milliliters of Mountain Dew energy drink to 100 milliliters. And also for the Pepsi, we diluted 10 milliliters to 100 milliliters of water to make 10 ppm of Diet Pepsi. Also for the 25 ppm Diet Pepsi, we dissolved 25 milliliters into 100 milliliters volumetric flask to make the 25 ppm of Diet Pepsi. And the 35 ppm of 5-hour energy drink, we diluted just 1 milliliter of the energy drink with 100 milliliters of distilled water to make the 35 ppm because it's very high in caffeine content. For the Bang energy drink, we dissolved 5 milliliters in water and diluted it to 100 milliliters to make 13 ppm of Bang energy drink. And these are our samples we used to determine the caffeine content in them on the HPLC machine. So these are our standards, and the small vials you see there over here are what goes into the injection portion of the injection column of the HPLC machine. So we put some amount of our prepared standards in the small vials and then put them in the injection area of the machine to be tested. This is our chromatograph, example of our chromatograph for the 13 ppm Bang energy drink. The longest peak you see here is caffeine, and we also have other unidentified compounds in our sample which we did not get to identify them. So this long peak you see here is caffeine, which comes out with a sharp peak, and the peak area is what we need. The peak area of this peak is what we need to determine the caffeine content in a 13 ppm Bang energy drink. So this is a standard curve we got from our caffeine standard. So this is the 1 ppm, 10 ppm, 30 ppm, and 40 ppm caffeine, pure caffeine standard. So as you can see, the line of best fit goes through all the points, and you have a nice straight line, and a very good R squared value, which is about 0.9999, and that is very good. And this is our equation of the line. So to find the caffeine content in our samples, we need to put the peak area, which is y, over here in this equation. We put the peak area in here, and this gives you the concentration of caffeine in the sample. So we did that for all our 5 beverages to get the caffeine content in them. So here are our results. For the 10 ppm Mountain Dew, the label claim states that there's about 153.8 ppm of caffeine found in this. Our result shows that we have about 145.68 ppm of caffeine in it, and the percentage error, the difference, which is the difference, is about 5.28%. For the 13 ppm Bank energy drink, our results show that we have 616.77 ppm of caffeine in it, as compared to the label claim of 634 ppm, which I think is quite close, and you can see over here the percentage error is very small. For the 35 ppm, it has a 35 ppm of 5-hour energy drink. It has a very high caffeine content, which is about 3,764.22, which is our calculated concentration of caffeine in that energy drink. So it's very high in caffeine content against the label claim, which is about 3,559 ppm of caffeine, and the percentage error is quite significant, which is 5.77. So for the 10% Mountain Dew, you can see that the caffeine content is quite close. Over here you can see that it's quite close, so that's why we have our 5.28 percentage error. And for the Diet Pepsi over here, the label states that it has about 100 ppm of caffeine in it. Our experiment found about 94.8% ppm of caffeine in it, and the percentage error is 5.20. The same applies to the 25 ppm Diet Pepsi, which is actually very close, so very close to the label claim. That's 97.96 ppm of caffeine in that. Thank you.
Hi, welcome. I'm Tyler with Albert and Budimer talking about HPLC, caffeine. I'm going to be going over how to run the software, how to turn it on, and how to run a sequence. So right now I've already started up because of a different outtake, but you would go from down, up, down, press every single one of the buttons on the bottom left hand. This turns every single from the pump to the injector to the column and then to our detector. Right now, couple cleans are off. If you would come closer. Right here, this is the software you'll be running on. It's called LC Online. Right here is where you can control the sampler. Right here is where you can control the pump. This is where you see where your solvent reservoir is. Right now, we're gonna have one in, so you need one for this. Here's where you can control the column component, and this is where you can control the diode array detector. Right now we need to go and actually put in the method we want, so we're going to go to method, load method. You want to zoom in a little bit? So
Oh, yeah.
It shows where we're going. Go to method, load method. We're just going to hit no. Go to caffeine, it's already in. This is the kind of method you run for caffeine. Hit OK. Then we're going to go here and go wait a little bit, wait a little bit. go to edit entire method. You're going to go through a bunch of checklists, just hit OK throughout them all. Try and change anything with this. Alright, this is where you're going to control how much you want your flow to. Right now ours was at 2 milliliters per minute. And we're going to inject, it's going to stop around 12 minutes. This is where you control the stop time for one flow through of injection. You go to sampler next, not sampler injector program, just sampler, and select how much you want to inject into the system. Right now it's at 5, just keep it at 5. This is where you would control your column temperature, and this is what you would do if you want precise results. Over here is where you control the diode array detector, what wavelength you want it set at. 274. That's what we run at. Nothing else, ignore the instrument curves. Hit OK. Again, you have to go through another series of checklist. Then, now that everything is set up, we're going to go to run sequence. We're going to go on to sequence and go to sequence table. Right here we have a different method in here, but you would just go to vials and put how many vials you want to add in. Right here is where you would insert another vial. You can add way more than 11, but then you put a sample name for whatever samples you're running. Make sure you give a name so you can identify what it is. Then you would go here to change the method name. Right now that's for the blowfish method, so you go down a little bit just for the caffeine method. Not going to do that, just leave it. You can go to here and just hit run sequence. I'm not going to hit run sequence because there's something in it right now. Hit OK. And then right here is where the chromatic would read off. There's a nice line where it cuts off so you know when you're at the start of a new sample. And then in order to turn it off, you would go over here and hit off. It would turn all of these off. Primary pump's just gonna, I think, push some of the mobile phase out, I think. That's what it does. And once the remaining pressure is done with, we're gonna go over here and then go turn everything off afterwards. I'm just gonna skip the whole process of this waiting because it's just unnecessary time. But down, up, hit every button. Come over here, hit the X button. Don't save it. I don't believe save anything to the method. Make sure you edit it every time. And then that's it. That is how you run your sequence and work on the program for HPLC.